everybody, welcome back once again to the Final Fantasy VII walkthrough. We are finally getting back on track with like storyline type stuff. I think my last like 4 videos were all kind of just kind of extracurricular activities for lack of a better term. But all right, so here we're finally at I think it's Junon, something like that. I think that's the name of this town. And, alright, so let's see here. I can't remember exactly what I planned on doing here. I think we actually need to go to the beach first, but I kind of cruised around and checked out some of these houses. I don't think there's anything in this one. Although that bed looks amazing. It's like a dresser bed. Although that ladder seems like it would be in the way of opening up the drawers underneath. I don't know. It still looks pretty cool, or seems pretty cool to me anyway. Alright, this I think is the shop. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything worthwhile to buy here. We're gonna find out. No. Not really. Mithril armlet? Yeah, we don't need any of those. Okay, so what else do we have here? I think there's one more building down here, but I think, I don't think we want to be here either. I'm pretty sure we do need to go down to the beach first. Yeah, and I don't think there was anything as far as like treasures in the cupboards or anything like that. Yeah, let's head back outside here. All right, so anyways, like I said, at this point, I'll say that the walkthrough is going to maybe feel a little bit different from this point on, just because I did so much extra leveling, and I got a bunch of I think I actually got all of my current characters' limit breaks at this point. So you know, there's definitely a power spike, I would say, and that's pretty common for my walkthroughs. You know, normally I'll go a little ways and you know, then just take a little break to do leveling and, you know, kind of just power up. And so, you know, at this point is, that's kind of when that happened. So, anyways, all right, so this is Priscilla, and she has made herself an aquatic friend here, Mr. Dolphin. And, for whatever reason, this, I think this is called Bottom Swell, this monster. Oh, look at that. She's pretty brave. I mean, that thing is, what, 10 times her size? But, alright, so let's jump in here. Let's take this thing out. Bottom Swell, pretty easy. I assume it is weak against... Oh, I shouldn't assume. Let me see if I can find this guy again. See if he's weak against... I would assume lightning, but I'm gonna check here just to be sure, because I don't really know. Way back here. Bottom Swell. Oh, it's weak against wind. So actually, whatchamacallit? Chocomog. So Chocomog should do a decent amount of damage. Now, if you've been watching all the videos back to back here, I've actually got the, what is it, beta from the Midgar Zolom learned. Obviously, that's, you know, an enemy skill. I would say somewhat difficult to learn. You really need to put your time in, I would say, to be able to learn it at this point in the game. You either need to have enough HP to survive it, which can be tough, or otherwise you need to have Eris's, what is it, her level 3 limit break planet protector, which, you know, will actually make it so that your characters will be invulnerable while the Midgar Zolom cast beta. But again, if you notice there, it did a ton of damage, way more, I think, than any other ability that I've got. So I'll be honest, that beta, that is such a brutal skill to know at this point in the game. Normally, I would say, you know, especially if it's your first time playing the game, you probably wouldn't have it by now. It's pretty difficult, or you have to do some work to be able to get it. Now, here we've got a little bit of a mini game here. This is like I'm gonna call it the CPR mini game. It's I don't know. I don't even think you can actually lose this. I usually let the breath gauge fill almost all the way up to the top. You don't necessarily need to. You can do like you can do smaller breaths, but it'll take more of them. Now, that being said, I feel like, and again, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like there's like a value assigned to each position here on the CPR or on this lung gauge. So we'll just say at the top, that's like an 8. You know, I don't know if that's really or how accurate that really is, but I feel like that's like an 8, and so Priscilla probably needs like a total of, you know what, we'll say 50, and you know, the probably the bottom rung is like a 1, so if you only let it fill up slightly, that's 1, and then, you know, thus it would take like 50 of those super tiny breaths, or, you know, like 5-6 of the full breaths. So that's my take on it. Again, I don't even think you can lose. I don't know that I ever have, but just know that that's kind of how it works. You just want to, you know, let Cloud's lungs fill up, and then you know, press the, I think it's square, you know, one more time, and he'll breathe into Priscilla there. So all right, so I'm gonna equip Cloud with the power wrist. He's gonna be, you know, in the party most of the time, and I actually kind of like that power wrist on him. It's just gonna amplify his physical attack strength, you know, even more than you know, it already is. Which, I mean, to be honest, his power stat's pretty impressive already. So you know, just in combination with that and his limit breaks and whatnot, I feel like that's a good pick for him. Now, someone like Eris, on the other hand, you know, you may think that that's not such a bad item to put on her because she's kind of weak, but at the same time, it's just not going to, I feel like it's not as effective on her just because, you know, her limit breaks aren't damage oriented. I actually don't think she's got a single one that deals damage, now that I think about it. I could be wrong on that, but you know, so I don't feel like that's a good use of an accessory. So that's my take. All right, so here Cloud is, again, I don't know what this voice is. I hope you know, and I don't know if that's because I just don't remember, or I mean, I assume it's because I don't ever remember. But maybe, who knows? Maybe that question never got answered. I'm not sure, but anyways, so he's thinking or talking to someone in his, I assume in his head. But here he's asking Tifa what's going on. It's 5 years ago. I don't remember, but something seems strange. Okay, so he wanted to ask her about something, but it seems like they got interrupted. So at this point, so this is where I think, let's see here. I might be jumping the gun. At a certain point, we're going to run back. Okay, yeah, this is it. Okay. So I believe it's between here and the point where you get into the water with Mr. Dolphin that you can do the next Condor Fort battle. So I am going to make my way over there and take care of that right now. And so, by the way, that's kind of how Fort Condor works. Is, you know, there's, I think I mentioned it actually in the specific video there that I did on Fort Condor, is that there's certain times in the game where you can go back and do battles, and if you progress in the story too far, you'll miss those opportunities. So you know, again, what I'm going to try to do here is anytime a new battle opens up, you know, we're going to head there. Now, That being said, if you're not around or don't make it all the way back to Fort Condor and you end up like skipping one, it's not the end of the world. The guys at Fort Condor will take care of those battles, you know, kind of without you. But I think it costs money, though. I think if I remember correctly, the guy says something like each battle is, I think it's 3,000 gil. So that being said, now I don't know that I've ever, you know, like completely lost at Fort Condor. I know at a certain point in the game, and it might be a specific battle, but and actually I'm fairly certain there's a certain battle where if you don't win it, they throw you out and you can never get back in. But again, I think that's much later on in the game. And I think, if I remember correctly, they start out with 15,000 gil, so that's enough for 5 battles. So, you know, even if you kind of neglect Fort Condor for a while, that's all right. You know, they'll fight the battles and actually win without you being there. Unfortunately, though, you won't get the extra prizes, you know, that you would normally get if you actually helped out, but that also means, you know, obviously they're not actually losing. So and then one more thing that I kind of didn't realize is that you know, they ask for donations, and the amount of money that they actually kind of have in reserve, that's not a pool that you get to use when you actually help. That is, yeah, so here he's at 20 grand. I think I gave him 5K more. But to be honest, I think that was kind of a waste of money. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to come back here at every chance I can get. And so that 25,000 gil pool that they've got there is specifically only ever used when the Shinra soldiers attack and you're not around. So like that 2,500 gil right now, I don't get to use when I'm trying to set the units here. This is coming directly out of my pocket. So, you know, I guess keep that in mind. Just, I'd say if you're going to try to make it here all the time or for all of these battles, don't worry too much about giving them money, because you know, it's kind of a waste, frankly. I believe at a certain point in the game, we will not be able to make it for some of the battles here. I think it's like, but it's much later. And it's like, I think there's like 4 or 5 battles in a row that you literally just can't be here for. There's just no way to make it here for them because of storyline purposes. So, but that being said, you know, again, just know what you can and can't do with the cash. I mean, essentially, like I said earlier, once you give the NPC the cash, you can't get that back, and it's only ever used for battles when you know, we're not around. So as per usual here, I set up a bunch of stoners. I actually really like those. You know, I think I've mentioned why, I guess, before. I feel like they're good little bit of extra damage. Obviously, you don't really want to let them get attacked, though. They have they've gotten a little bit of HP, but not really anything to be too impressed with. But you know, they're really great for putting units in front of them, and you know, then they just do a little bit of extra damage. Here I'm gonna throw this shooter down because it looks like this flying enemy is kind of coming this way. It'll be my luck, and he'll switch directions here, but that I've noticed that kind of happens a lot, and that's kind of one of the things that you have to. Oh, I guess he is going to keep going up that way. That's one of the, maybe, I don't know if I'd say frustrating things about this, but you know, you'll set your units up thinking that an enemy is coming for them, and then they'll make a turn and take a different path. So You kind of just have to expect that kind of stuff to happen. The different things on the screen here, I'll just talk about that a little bit. If you look on the far left there, you see a gauge, and up at the top it says side and then the number 9. That's because I've got 9 troops on the battlefield right now, and again, you can never have more than 20. So 20 is the maximum. Now, if one of your units gets killed, though, that number will drop down, and so you know, it's not like you're only limited to 20 and that's it for the rest of the battle, you know, regardless of who lives and who dies. So you can reinforce your units if they start to die. Now here, this was a bad idea. I don't know why I stuck this defender out in the middle of nowhere. The hunter, or the barbarian, sorry, the enemy barbarian is essentially the archer, and they're able to you know, attack your units from range, which makes them a little more dangerous, especially if you're not paying attention, because if you throw a bunch of like attackers on the front lines and they start taking damage from the barbarians, they won't react. They won't, like, you know, they won't run away or you know, move up to the barbarian to attack them. They'll just stand there and take it the entire time until they die, and then the barbarian will move on and, you know, start attacking your other units. So you just have to be careful with those, especially. Oh, he got ripped up. All right. And I should have been moving my shooter back. So now they've caught up to him, and he's going to kind of be boned out here. We'll see here if I can move him in time. The flying enemies are extremely fast. So actually, yeah, he might be able to get away. But anyways, like I said, so the flying enemies are fairly quick, so if you're trying to retreat from them, it's most likely not going to happen. You know, it's usually better to just stand and fight. Yeah. Alright, enemy destroyed. And if you notice here, I'm actually moving. So anyways, going back to the screen, or sorry, the layout of almost kind of like the HUD layout, I guess. You got the meter there, and the meter just designates how close they are to the shed. So all the way at the bottom of the meter means the enemies are extremely far away. The 1/2 mark there, that's literally that means they're halfway up the hill, essentially. And so on and so forth. And so down at the bottom then converse to our numbers. That's the enemy numbers. And so right now there's 12 enemies on the field. So that's kind of nice too, to judge, you know, how much of the battle you've got left to a certain extent. Most of the enemies won't appear, you know, right away. They kind of come at you in waves. And so, you know, at the start of a battle, that's not all that accurate, but as the battle wears on, it'll be a little more accurate. And then once the commander actually comes out, then you know there won't be any more enemies than that. So, and right now, I believe the commander is out, so that's why you're not going to see that number going up. So at this point, it's literally just going to keep dwindling down as I take out more and more of their troops. So here my shooter is probably going to die. But here I'm drawing the enemies up into the range of the stoners, and I'll be honest, I did a really poor job with this center area. I really wasted a lot of troop HP just because I had my troops positioned poorly. But here we're finally winding down. And there you see this hunter is actually able, or barbarian, sorry, is able to shoot at these the stoners, but they're cranking him. The stoners have better range than the barbarians, so that's why he's gradually taking more and more damage as he tries to walk up and hit them. And there we go. Clunk, clunk. Yeah, man. I really like those stoners, if I didn't mention that already. It is kind of a cool mini game, I'll be honest. I think that uh-oh. Oh no, no. Oh, he took out my stone. That's all right. We're not gonna be using that or those stoners anymore probably for the rest of this battle. So at this point, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to just summon up a bunch of like regular soldiers and have them gravitate towards the center. If you notice here, the commander stands still until you've killed off all of the rest of the units. So, you know, just to speed things up, I'm going to summon, you know, some more troops. And then, like I said, have them probably kind of converge to the center of the map. And then they'll take on the commander. You know, I could wait for the commander to walk all the way up into the range of the stoners, but you know, I don't know. It's so the other thing is, if you've got a bunch of money, you really don't have to worry too much about strategy. You can just keep summoning soldiers over and over and over, and you know, kind of have it be a bloodbath. And that, I'll be honest, that's kind of what I do. You know, I do a little bit for strategy, you know, at least with the stoners, but you know, to be honest, if you've got money, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. You can summon whatever you want, kill off as many of your own troops as you want, and you'll be fine. You know, it's really just about winning and losing, and as long as you take out the commander, you're good to go. So, arrived at the position. Okay, cool. So that was actually kind of a bad idea to send this defender out alone. Okay, yeah, so let's... and actually, I haven't really looked at the troops much, but the fighter here actually has a really good attack stat. He's got a attack of 30, which is kind of funny because the attacker has less attack power. But, you know, the fighter, it says he's not strong against anything, but he's also not weak against anything, so... it's kind of, I would almost say there's kind of an aspect of rock, paper, scissors with some of these units, but, you know, I don't, and then the fighter is just kind of, I don't know, all three combined, if that makes sense. But, all right, so there's the peace ring, and like I said, I think that's the second prize. Let's see what this thing does. All right, Berserk, Fury, and Sadness. I don't know. That's kind of useful, I guess. There is plenty of enemies that use those status effects. I would say, of the 3 status effects, Berserk is the worst. You know, it just makes it so that your character can't be controlled, and they'll just attack the enemy. Yeah, without taking any orders, or without you actually ordering them to do it. Fury and Sadness, completely minor. You know, Fury, yes, is annoying sometimes when you're trying to cast magic and because it'll cause it to miss, which is super weird. But it also does make your limit break gauge fill up faster. So, you know, I've been over that a bit. And then Sadness kind of does the opposite, where your limit break gauge will fill up slower than normal. And so I definitely don't like Sadness. I don't know if there's a bonus to that, like if it actually makes your character more accurate. I don't know. Or maybe they take less damage. I'm not sure if there's a secondary component to that. But Fury for sure makes your characters miss more. And again, will actually make your characters miss using their magic, which is a major bummer. That's not cool at all. But you know, if you like to rely on your limit breaks to do damage and whatnot, then maybe it's worth it to you. But anyways, that's the peace ring, and that's the second Fort Condor battle. Our third one will actually be coming up quite soon as well. We'll actually do a very short little bit here of storyline, and then we're actually going to head back to Fort Condor. I believe the next one I decided to not really do the battle and just let the commander attack the shed, and so I could take him on and actually steal from him. It's up to you on whether or not that's what you want to do, but that is how I'm going to handle this next battle. And I'll point that out. It'll actually be, I think, technically the beginning of the next video. So just keep in mind that that's the intent, though, from this point on. By the way, I forgot here. Cloud's by himself, so. You know, if you've done a bunch of leveling like I have, that probably isn't an issue, but these battles could be significantly more difficult if Cloud is alone. Now, you know, if you've got like Chocomog, you'll be fine. You won't have to worry about that. But anyways, alright, so let's head back into Junon here. Okay. Heard that girl regain consciousness. Cool. Hopefully getting so noisy all of a sudden. Sure. Seems like something's going on up there. This loud music is giving me a headache. Thanks for helping. Be something special. Alright, so here's the Shiva materia. And again, now I think that's actually the cutoff point. Yeah, so this conversation here is the cutoff for that Fort Condor battle. So basically, anytime after the Shiva materia gets obtained, that is when the next battle becomes available for Fort Condor. But before Mr. Dolphin flops you up onto the I don't know what that. There's like a pillar above that we'll jump up onto. It's dangerous. All right. So I actually believe at this point, now that we've got this Shiva materia, I think we might be able to go back to Fort Condor, but I'm going to go all the way to the water, or jump into the water, and then I'll actually head back. I guess I'm going to save first. That's my guess anyway. Yeah. Oh, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Oh, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I did save. It's probably a good idea, too. Extra saving is always a good thing, in my opinion. But, alright, so here we are, back at the beach. I think this is the beach. I don't know. It actually doesn't really look that much like a beach. Kind of looks like those are, like, it's like rocky, which is kind of weird. Alright, and there's Mr. Dolphin jumping for us. I ain't never seen no dolphin jump like that. Wow, jeez. Barrett needs to go back to school. That is not how you speak properly, okay, buddy? Okay, so just know that if you do want to jump onto, or if you want to get to the next part of Fort Condor or do the next battle, you cannot jump up with Mr. Dolphin. You can say sure here and jump it or get into the water, but then you have to swim back to shore. You don't want to have the dolphin pop you up onto the whatever that rebar or whatever that is up there. Not rebar. I don't know what I'm thinking here. The framing. So yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna head back outside and head back to Fort Condor because our next battle awaits us. So, yeah, anyways, I'm going to probably cut the commentary actually here because I don't believe there's actually anything left of this video as far as storyline-wise. So, anyways, like I said, we're going to head back to Fort Condor, and we'll take on our next, will that be, I think, our third battle. But this next one, I am actually not going to win the typical way. I'm actually going to let the enemies make it all the way up to the shed. And that's just so that, or I'll explain that actually in the next video. But anyways, as always, I hope this guide was helpful, and I hope you join me for more videos. Thanks for watching.